From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
The Crow, I'm Caitlin O, and here is your 10 a.m. news. Vancouver's Auditor General Mike McDonald says the Park Board needs to improve the revenue management. McDonald released a report on his performance audit yesterday. The audit determined that the Park Board did not operate an effective framework for achieving revenue-related goals for its revenue-generating assets and services. According to the audit, the Park Board collects an average of $56.3 million in fees and charges every year. The fees are aimed to recover costs for services and some to generate revenue. However, the Park Board did not define the level of service it intended to deliver for all of its services, and the Park Board accepted all 6 recommendations McDonald gave. He says he looks forward to seeing its action plans brought into life in the coming months. The Canadian Coast Guard says the barge that started drifting towards English Bay on Sunday should not have been a concern. Our reporter Sean Park explains.
The Canadian Coast Guard says that the barge was empty. They also say that the 2 Coast Guard vessels prevented the barge from drifting off to the beach while a commercial tugboat was on its way. Deval Shaw is the Associate Dean of the BCIT Burnaby Campus. He says that those barges are usually never tied up, and empty barges aren't something people should worry about.
They don't have any dangerous cargo like oil. They don't have any cargo which can damage the environment. So that is more important for us to pay attention to, because if there's a barge with oil or with chemical, then it can cause more harm to the environment.
Shaw also says the problem is when the barge starts to move back and forth due to the sea waves, causing the ropes to be untied. Sean Park, 1680 The Crow.
Vancouver City Savings Credit Union is giving out $1 million to businesses and community organizations across the province to fast-track projects for lower carbon footprints. The Van City Enviro Fund program aims to provide projects that reduce carbon emissions and create low carbon ways of life. Van City says they gave out more than $1 million in grants to 25 recipients. One of the recipients, Creative Victoria, provides material sourced from landfills to artists, and nonprofit Hub Cycling received more than $37,000 to research cycling networks in Metro Vancouver. Victoria Police are warning pedestrians of a cougar roaming around near downtown. Police are telling people to avoid this area this morning after the animal was spotted near the 400 block of Dundas Street. Conservation Officer Service has been contacted to address the cougar, and the neighborhood where the cougar was spotted has a mix of low-rise residential and office buildings mixed with open parking lots. Those are some of the stories we're covering. We're now joined by our producer, Kobe Smith, on more stories our newsroom is looking at today.
Of our reporters are covering, Sean Park, Burnaby Housing is planning on expanding affordable units in the Maywood neighborhood. Nathan Maley, talking with the president of the Vancouver Giants, is teaching senior and junior teams about how they will grow basketball in the Lower Mainland. And Abby Francis is preparing for the feature later in the week. We'll be interviewing a farmer about daylight savings. And for the record, Jerison O'Shawn will be talking with a famous YouTuber that collects films. Back to you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Kobe. The Vancouver Aquarium Marine Mammal Rescue Society says it's launching a contest for animal lovers to attend a release of rescued harbored seals next month. The organization says people who have symbolically adopted one of the 6 animals under its care can enter into a draw to attend the release of the seals on December 12th. Lindsay Ackhurst, the Marine Mammal Rescue Center manager, says releasing the rescued seals back into the wild is a rewarding experience. They have rehabilitated more than 3,000 marine animals throughout its 60 years in operation. And now for the weather. It's currently 6 degrees and cloudy in Burnaby. A high of 11 degrees is expected today with a chance of rain starting later this afternoon. Tomorrow it will be partly cloudy with a high of 9 degrees and a low of 4. That was your 10 a.m. news. I'm Caitlin No, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Jerison Rashun. The Lower Mainland has several transportation hubs, including Port Coquitlam. It is easy to get around the city with the commuter shuttles, bike lanes, and paths, and the Evergreen line on the other side of town. City Council is consulting with residents on its draft master transportation plan for the next 2 decades. City Councilor Daryl Penner joins me to talk about it. Was e-scooters being allowed on the streets of Port Coquitlam part of the plan? So, apparently, how is transportation in the city right now?
Well, it's reasonable depending on the time. If you look, what I find fascinating is doesn't matter where you are in Metro Vancouver. If you think about being able to get from one point to another, and we don't have traffic, we can get around pretty easily. I know early morning I've gone to the airport and made it to the airport in like 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Rush hour, traffic plugs up a pile of cars. It takes hours sometimes. So we have, in our community, that we have great road infrastructure connections, but when volume kind of plugs it up, that is the biggest issue.
Well, so I know now the city is currently doing a consultation on the draft master transportation plan, which will make sure that the transportation will be easy for like the next 2 decades. And so what should residents do when they fill the survey to kind of share their thoughts on the future of transportation in Port Coquitlam?
Well, they should just do that. They should fill it out and go through the pieces. What will most likely happen with residents? So we've sent this going out to residents, going out to businesses, and so residents will have a specific take on basically how does it affect them directly. That's usually most people comment in that respect. The trucking industry, we will have comments from them, and they will look at it how it affects them specifically. And so you take all that information together and then try to blend that into how can we achieve the needs and the wants of the community within the MTP.
Yeah. So in the little survey, they will probably see some like not only the background of the projects that will possibly be built in the next 2 decades, as well as a link to the draft, and also a map of those where those projects are and what are some of those projects include.
So have you had a chance to look on the interactive map?
Oh, not yet.
Okay, because it's in the draft form right now. So this is like sort of the multi-layered, cadastral. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
System. Okay, so it's like that. It's using that kind of an idea. And what it does is that you'll look at it and it'll say for priority 1 roads or priority 1 trails, sidewalks. It's got a whole list of different types of infrastructure, and you can click on those. So when you open it up, at least as far as what we get, you open it up and basically it's kind of like every second one is clicked. But once if you go on it and you just want to know, okay, where are all of the new sidewalks going? Because that quite often has a great effect on residents. So you click on that, it'll show where the new sidewalks are proposed. And then within that box, it has an arrow to the right. You push on that and it'll tell you where it's coming from. It'll give you a little bit of a synopsis of that exact project. So it's an incredibly detailed, I think very well thought out document.
Oh, very in depth, yeah. So let's see. And then in some municipalities in the province, e-scooters are currently allowed to be used, but could allowing them on Port Coquitlam streets be part of the plan?
Well, actually, that's within the plan. It talks about those future uses, and you were at the at our meeting there, so you got a bit of a flavor of it. And I was, to be straight up, very happy that staff have included that as a mode of transportation, because it is becoming, quite popular. I imagine at BCIT, there's lots of people that take scooters and e-bikes to
I do
school.
see them when I go around the school, yes.
Yes, there's lots of them. And so it's becoming a different types of, a new mode of transport that we hadn't seen before. And I think we need to embrace it. I know I was in Europe a few years ago, and the e-bikes, particularly e-scooters, were really popular. Saw all the benefits, and I could see some real concerns, clashes with pedestrians. There didn't seem to be any true real road rules. So those are the things that have to be worked through, but I think we need to be able to incorporate that into the MPT, which it is, and look at like basic stuff like where can you have the racks for the bikes, and where can the racks be for the scooters, and the share bikes and stuff, because they take up public space. So I think it's we have had it in the past. We've had some interest. We've had it here. It's been somewhat successful, and some it hasn't been successful. So moving forward, how do we facilitate that?
Oh yeah, and so that may also kind of make sure that there's not a lot of e-scooters being left in in non-designated areas. Make sure it's all
I think we probably need to look at that as something, because I've seen them just laying all over the place in different areas, and it just from a safety standpoint, just say someone's finished with it and they leave it in the middle of the sidewalk and walk away. Well, there's more than just that person using the sidewalk, so it's a little careless and unthoughtful of the user. But there also has to be a protocol, I think, is because we haven't grown up with it, right? This hasn't been something we've been raised with, so we don't have those those rules that we're aware of. So but it'll come.
Yeah, and finally, well, after the plan has been fully finalized, do you think this will make the transportation in the city, as well maybe the city in general, be more sustainable and more eco-friendly?
Well, that's always the goal. When you look at what's the projection for climate change and for sea rise, and they're predicting the temperature rise every day, how that affects how it affects the entire world. That's always part of our conversation. One of the things that's coming along with densification is the whole idea about parking, and you're seeing this change quite a bit. And really, there are developments that are coming up with no parking that have good public transit. So it really is a big shift from our auto-oriented. Like when I was growing up, that was the idea about taking a bus was like, oh, you're that's crazy. That's your last resort, to getting in a position where that is what people use, and they just occasionally rent a car to do a trip or whatever. It's a shift. So when we build residential areas that don't have parking, the resident would be aware of that, obviously, from get-go. So that would have to be something they would deal with.
Daryl, nice talking to you. Talk about transportation. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That was Daryl Penner, City Councillor in Port Coquitlam. And that is For the Record, produced by BCIT's Broadcast and Online Journalism program. I'm Jerison Rashawn. Thanks for listening.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning and welcome to the 10:30 newscast. Another pair of hikers had to be rescued last night in Squamish. This came just a day after search and rescue teams rescued a lone hiker from Colombia. The two people stranded were from Denmark and found themselves stuck on a steep section of Mount Habrick. All hikers were located safely, but Squamish Search and Rescue released a statement online urging people to be diligent. They say that the winter conditions are much different at the top of the peak than they are at the base, and people should plan for the worst. The Canadian Coast Guard says that a blue barge started drifting away from its stationed area in English Bay last Sunday. Our reporter Sean Park explains why there should have been no concern.
The Canadian Coast Guard says that the barge was empty. They also say that the two Coast Guard vessels prevented the barge from drifting off to the beach while a commercial tugboat was on its way. Deval Shaw is the Associate Dean of the BCIT Burnaby Campus. He says that those barges are usually never tied up, and empty barges aren't something people should worry about.
They don't have any dangerous cargo like oil. They don't have any cargo which can damage the environment. So that is more important for us to pay attention to, because if there's a barge with oil or with chemical, then it can cause more harm to the environment.
Shaw also says the problem is when the barge starts to move back and forth due to the sea waves causing the ropes to be untied. Sean Park, 1680, The Crow.
Stats Canada says the inflation rate slowed down over 3% throughout the calendar year. They say the drop was due to the hefty gasoline prices drivers were paying last year. According to the agency, the largest contributors to inflation continue to be mortgage interest costs, food purchased from stores, and rent. The agency also released the rates from major Canadian cities, seeing the Vancouver rate just over the national average of 3.4%. Over to the island now. There is a police warning out urging residents near downtown Victoria that a cougar has been spotted roaming around the city. The cougar was spotted near Jutland Road and Dunedin Street, near the Victoria waterfront and downtown core. Police say they have conservation officers on it, and if anyone sees anything, to report it to local authorities immediately. Over to international news now. President Joe Biden claims that Israel is getting closer to making a hostage exchange with Hamas.
We're now very close, very close. We could bring some of these hostages home very soon. But I don't want to get into the details of things because nothing is done until it's done.
A hostage official told Al Jazeera on Tuesday that negotiations were based on how long the truce would last. Hamas is demanding aid and a ceasefire, as well as Palestinian prisoners in Israel in exchange for Israeli hostages. South Korea is accusing North Korea of attempting to launch a spy satellite into orbit Tuesday evening. Charles Ledesma of the Associated Press has the details on the accusation.
The military in Seoul says the rocket was launched late on Tuesday. The North's two previous attempts failed because of technical reasons. Pyongyang had vowed a third launch and says it needs a spy satellite to deal with what it calls increasing US-led military threats. South Korea retrieved debris from the first launch and called the satellite too crude to perform military reconnaissance. South Korea's military recently suggested it could suspend a 2018 inter-Korean agreement to reduce tensions and resume frontline aerial surveillance and firing exercises if the North went ahead with its launch. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The legendary Rolling Stones have just announced their North American tour. The band has announced 16 total dates so far for the 2024 tour, but Vancouver is the only Canadian city so far on the schedule. The concert will take place on July 5th at BC Place. Now time for weather. The forecast today consists of mostly cloud until around 5 o'clock. After that, we can expect rain until just before midnight. Starting Wednesday morning, we have sunshine all the way through Sunday. Although it's sunny, people should be aware that the highs will be dropping to 8 degrees and the lows all the way down to 0, making icy surfaces more likely. Thanks for listening. I'm Kevin Pontius for 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
We respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations.
All right.
Get ready, on your toes.
Oh, good save. All right.
Growing up, like native tournaments was like a big thing for my parents, and they're the ones that showed me how to play soccer.
As much as Penelope Sparrow is on track to reaching new levels of professional soccer, she does not forget where it all came from.
And they'd bring me around until I got to a point where I was 4 years old, and we put on a pair of cleats and started playing. And I'd be there right by their side, learning with them. And that's kind of where I started. And then it just kept going on. I got put in a couple leagues growing up, and I just grew to love it. I was about 13, and that's when I knew I truly loved the sport. Like, it was more than just kicking the ball, like you said. It was more of like a family, us together.
So to welcome you to our territory, which is known as UBC, which is known as Vancouver.
For Thompson Nelson, it's important for him to reflect on his roots while mentoring the next generation of Indigenous athletes.
It was just built into our family. And so from the time I could walk, my dad was throwing a soccer ball at me and just go out and have fun. And he was a traveling kind of traditional artist, merchant salesman, so we'd go to all the soccer tournaments across Vancouver Island, as well as over here on the mainland in the Indigenous circuit. So I just grew up around watching it, playing it, and just watching every aspect of it. And so I really fell in love with it, and every morning I'd go and just watch with him.
Both Thompson and Penelope are currently working with Hope and Health, coaching the younger generation at the UBC Thunderbird Stadium.
Hope and Health is a sport for social impact organization that works specifically with Indigenous children and youth and their communities to develop life and leadership skills. It's about creating a program that's accessible within Indigenous communities. As a result of colonization, programs haven't been accessible, nor have they been created that are culturally safe for Indigenous children and youth. So we wanted to close that gap. We really have been working on creating the pathway from those young, talented athletes that aspire to go pro or play to an elite level as high as they can go. When we had the opportunity to consider to take ownership over the League One BC Varsity FC team, it just made total sense that that would allow us to create that piece, which is the semi-professional, high-performance level, so then we can work with our communities as young as 3, 5 as little champions, all the way through their journey to Natsama FC.
Varsity FC was run by UBC Athletics, but Hope and Health purchased the rights and has rebranded as Natsama FC. Perhaps due to a lack of representation, many Indigenous athletes struggle on their journeys, often giving up.
So we're on the Musqueam field, where I grew up to love soccer. I always feel safe here, comfortable. I know when I've had a long day or a hard day, I try to do other things like art, track, all the other sports, but soccer was always something that I couldn't live without. When they think of soccer, they don't think of us, and obviously that's very hard because growing up, that was my FIFA. Going to tournaments, watching it, it was my FIFA. Like, that was my World Cups. Watching them play, it was like other players I couldn't see in TV. And the kind of passion and like support we have, it should be noticed. You don't see any native players, obviously. And it was just a battle. It's just like, am I trying, or like, am I doing enough? Am I gonna achieve anything? Like, I didn't see anybody like me. So it was obviously really tough. It's just like, am I there for nothing? Am I doing this all for nothing? Like, there's nobody, I had nobody to like look up to.
One significant kind of moment for me was in high school. I was about 14, and I wasn't, like I said, I was a late bloomer. I was a bit out of shape, I guess, plumper than some of the other boys. And we had these fitness tests to introduce us into the high performance leagues, like for example, like Natsama and like UVic, Union Upton University. And I failed this fitness test. I guess not failed, but I just didn't do well. So that was really significant for me because I was bullied for that, and it felt pretty bad. So then I did that for a year, and then I came back the next year and nobody recognized me. I slimmed out, I got better. People thought I was an exchange student until I said my name. And then I came back and did that same fitness test, and I was in the top 2. I got like level 12 or something. But I think one of the lowest points, it's not a low point, but something you just kind of live with, was, like I said, my dad passed away when I was 7. And then he was one of my biggest role models. And I'm thankful for my uncle taking over and like raising me as one of his own too. But like not having that male figure to really be like, good job, son, or like, you know, like, saying like, good job, son, or like, everybody had their dads there. And me, after I finished a game, I'd just look in the stands, and sometimes I'd have family, sometimes I wouldn't, and then it'd be like kind of like a little, you sit in the change room, you give yourself like a little self vibe, or like, and sometimes it's just nice to have that outer, I don't know, just a little nudge like, hey, you're doing well, just you're on the right path kind of thing. Because sometimes you just don't know, you get lost along the way, and sometimes you need that little push. But I'm grateful for everybody in my life and who have brought me and raised me to bring me to this opportunity. But in essence of barriers, like there definitely is barriers out there. And it can be a struggle, but you just gotta be proud, like don't fall into negativity. Like if somebody has something bad to say about you, just brush it off and just keep moving forward in a positive way. Because as an Indigenous youth, like we're representing our community, not just ourselves. Like it takes a village to raise a child. Like for me as an example, I had uncles, aunties, coaches, a plethora of people that like help support me. And it really shows like growth and development. And you're just there to represent your people to the best of your abilities and just make whoever proud and yourself proud, more importantly. And then just walk in a good way.
I was sitting in bed, not doing nothing, and then I got the call from Jesse. I was just amazed. It felt like my dreams were coming true. My journey was it felt like it was just a fresh start. Like, I was excited. I couldn't even think. I was speechless. When I was talking to him, I didn't even know what I said. I blacked out. Like, it was just, I was like, oh my God. Like, I already know what this is gonna bring, and I'm so excited. Like, I can't even express the emotions.
And when I found out, I was like, okay, this is something cool. This is a big step. Like, let's just go and take the plunge, see what happens. So I came here, and the group was very welcoming, and it was just nice to be in just such a high level. And right away, you could notice the jump. It was faster, people were smarter, the play was just intense. But I loved every minute of it, and I loved seeing if I can rise to the challenge. Oh, what a finish, all right. And when I got that call to come back for more tryouts, and then that final assessment that I made the squad, it was over the moon. I didn't really know how to like react. I was on the ferry trying not to like laugh out loud. I have this like big smirk because I was sitting next to people I didn't know, and I was like, I had to go outside and just like take a breath of fresh air. But it was just awesome, just because for a moment of like, that's it, this is a big moment just to like prove Indigenous players have capabilities and opportunities to show talent, because there's a lot that fall through the cracks that just don't get that opportunity. And sometimes all you just need is that one, or even that one person that believes in you. And I'm hoping this platform of Natsuma, and even me just being here, will show other Indigenous youth and other players that you can do it. You just dedication, hard work, and lots of just faith, and just reaching out to, like putting yourself out there, and not being afraid of like the racial barriers or like people doubting you that you can't do it.
For sure. Nice dribbling, nice dribbling. Almost. We have them wide. We've been hidden for a long time, overlooked. We don't really get noticed like this, and such an opportunity like this, I can't hold back, express how I play, show how I play. Like, playing with like First Nations, it's a different game. Like,
To date, Notsamont FC has signed 11 Indigenous players across the men's and women's teams, including 5 Indigenous assistant coaches. Their inaugural season begins April 29th at Swangard Stadium.
One, two, three.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Welcome back to 1680 The Crow. I'm Caitlin O, and here is your 11 a.m. news. One person is in hospital after a shooting in Langley this morning. RCMP officers say they were called to the area of 201 Street and 84th Avenue near Chelsea Townhomes around 7:30 this morning. Officers found one person suffering from what is believed to be a gunshot wound and was taken to hospital. Their condition is not clear at this time. The Burnaby RCMP is getting a mental health car after 6 years of advocating for it. The mental health car program will have a psychiatric nurse attending calls with officers. The detachment first started lobbying for this program since 2017 amid a rise in mental health calls in the city. Surrey RCMP already have a similar program, the CAR 67 program, which pairs police officers with a Fraser Health mental health nurse. Their program has been in place since 2000. The Burnaby Mobile Integrated Crisis Response Team has $248,000 in funding for a Fraser mental health nurse. BC's government is continuing wolf kills this winter as they plan a moose population survey. The Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship says the decision to reduce predator populations is not taken lightly. Plans to continue wolf kills is only used when there is evidence that wolf populations are actively contributing to declining caribou herds. The ministry estimates there to be around 8,500 wolves in BC. The caribou count is set to run from December to February in Chetwynd. Solicitor General Mike Farnworth says the latest legal challenge by Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke to retain the RCMP is nothing more than a delay tactic. Yesterday, Locke announced a constitutional challenge against the province over its move last week to suspend the police board and accelerate the transition to a municipal police service. Farnworth says the only thing Surrey's latest challenge does is waste taxpayers' money. Vancouver City Savings Credit Union is giving out $1 million to businesses and community organizations around the province to fast-track projects for lower carbon footprints. The VanCity EnviroFund program aims to support projects that reduce carbon emissions and create low-carbon ways of life. VanCity says they gave out more than $1 million in grants to 25 recipients. One of the recipients, Creative Victoria, provides materials sourced from landfills to artists, and nonprofit Hub Cycling received more than $37,000 to research cycling networks in Metro Vancouver. Statistics Canada says the inflation rate slowed to 3.1% from 3.8% since September. StatsCan says the annual inflation rate cooled in October as the price of gas lowered. RSM economist Tu Win says the drop was encouraging.
For the Bank of Canada, I think this is definitely good news, and there's no need for them to hike interest rate any further. They are most likely going to pause in December.
The Bank of Canada says final interest rate decision of the year is set for December. Grocery retailer Sobeys says it's freezing prices on thousands of products from now until the new year. Empire, the retailer that owns Sobeys, says freezing prices on a majority of packaged products is a historic practice the company does between November and January. Empire spokesperson Andrew Walker says this year the company has expanded the freezing of prices to all of their packaged products, approximately 20,000 items. Rock and roll icons the Rolling Stones are coming to Vancouver. It will be the band's only stop in Canada, and they will be playing at BC Place on Friday, July 5th next year. Tickets go on sale on December 1st. The Vancouver Aquarium Marine Mammal Rescue Society says it's launching a contest for animal lovers to attend a release of rescued harbor seals next month. The organization says people who have symbolically adopted one of the 6 animals under its care can enter into a draw to attend the release of the seals on December 12th. And now for the weather, it's 8 degrees and cloudy in Burnaby. Rain is expected to start this afternoon. That was your 11 a.m. news. I'm Caitlin No, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.